Welcome to Mindsprout, and today we'll be continuing to look at yet another masterpiece by Edmund Spenser, The Shepherd's Calendar. Now, this is a work that didn't just quietly appear, it arrived with a bang in the 16th century and completely shook up what English poetry could even be.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the poem's dramatic debut, and then we're going to break down its really unique structure. After that, we'll get into the fun stuff, decoding its hidden messages, tackling its super weird language, and finally exploring the incredible legacy it left behind. All right, let's travel back in time. Picture the literary scene in late 16th century England. It's into this world that this anonymous, totally new kind of work appears, and it sends ripples through the whole establishment. The year is 1579. This mysterious, incredibly ambitious work gets published, and it instantly launches its author into the literary stratosphere. Trust me, this wasn't just another book of poems. This was a major statement. So the author uses a pen name, Imerito, which basically means the unworthy one. But don't let that false modesty fool you for a second. By dedicating this thing to a literary superstar like Sir Philip Sidney, he was aiming for the very top. This was the arrival of a new poet, as his editor put it, and he was entering the scene with this brilliant mix of pretending to be humble while being massively ambitious. The poem's editor, this mysterious guy known only as E.K., and hey, some people think that was just Spenser himself in disguise, did an amazing job building the hype. He framed the author as this raw, uncouth talent, an unknown genius just waiting to be discovered. It was basically brilliant 16th century marketing. So we know how it hit the scene, but what is the Shepherd's Calendar, really? Let's take a look under the hood at its revolutionary design. The whole thing is built out of 12 of these eclogues, one for each month of the year. An eclogue is just a short pastoral poem, a style borrowed from classical legends like Virgil. Think of it as a little one-act play set out in the countryside, usually with a couple of shepherds talking about love, life, the universe, everything. But here's the thing. It's not just a random jumble of poems. Our mystery editor, E.K., explains that they're all carefully sorted into 3 different categories. First, you've got the plaintive ones, where the main shepherd, Colin Clout, is just moping about his broken heart. Then there are the recreative poems, which are all about love and praise for important people. And finally, you get the moral ones, which have this sharp, satirical edge, taking jabs at the church and society. It creates this amazing variety of moods all in one work. Okay, this is where we really start to peel back the layers, because this poem isn't just about simple country life and, sheep. Spenser is playing a much, much deeper game here. This is the big question, right? It's the key to unlocking the whole thing. Because on the surface, yeah, sure, it's about shepherds. But underneath that simple exterior, there is a whole world of hidden meaning going on. And that brings us to the poem's secret weapon, allegory. See, the shepherd's cloak was a known literary trick back then. It was a disguise, a mask that let a writer talk about really sensitive, real-world stuff, politics, religion, you name it, without getting into too much trouble. Take the main character, the lovesick shepherd, Colin Clout. Well, that's basically Spenser himself. Through Colin, Spenser gets to pour out all his own feelings, his romantic frustrations, his artistic dreams, all safely hidden inside this fictional shepherd's world. And here's where it gets really gutsy. The beautiful Queen of Shepherds, Elisa, that's a direct stand-in for Queen Elizabeth I. Now, at the time, there was a huge political controversy about her possibly marrying a French Catholic noble. A lot of people were terrified of this. So when Spenser writes this gushing poem praising Elisa's virginity, whoa, that's a bold and pretty risky political move. So the poem was radical in its politics, for sure, but it was also radical in a way that still challenges readers today. It's language. It's deliberately old-fashioned and honestly kind of weird. And hey, if you've ever tried to read it and thought, what is going on here? You are not alone. This modern review from Goodreads just echoes what people have been saying for centuries. Right from the start, readers were baffled by Spenser's strange, archaic words. But of course, the editor E.K. Lang had a defense ready. He argued that these old words were totally intentional. They gave the poetry a kind of weight and authority, he said, like the respect we give to gray hairs. It was a feature, not a bug. So the crucial thing to get here is that Spenser wasn't just trying to be difficult. He was on a mission. Yeah, the old words made his shepherds sound more authentically rustical, but his real goal was way bigger. He was digging up Old English words to prove that his own language was powerful enough for epic poetry, without needing to borrow from Italian or Latin. He was literally trying to forge a new poetic identity for England itself.
So, after all this weird, ambitious, political, linguistically challenging work, what was the fallout? What did it all add up to in the end?
Well, the impact was huge, and it was immediate. This one work basically launched his career into the stratosphere. People started calling him England's Virgil, the next great poet after Chaucer. And the calendar gave him the clout and the confidence to start writing his even bigger masterpiece, The Fairy Queen.
And that's really what you should take away from this. The Shepherd's Calendar was so much more than a book of poems. It was a turning point. It was a declaration of independence for English literature, proving to everyone that the English language could create art just as magnificent as any other. And all of this leaves us with a really big, timeless question. By choosing to write in this challenging, deeply English style, Spenser wasn't just making art. He was helping to build a nation's cultural voice. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is the true power of art to shape and define who we are?